a lovely analog voice, which we love.
Ah, yeah, for sure. Sorry about my video quality. That's shocking.
No, that's all right. You should have seen the last interview I did, my webcam died, and my son found a webcam on the street, and I think it was circa 2005 or something. And it just
Amazing.
and it basically would not focus, or every time I'd move my head, I'd go out of focus. It was
Incredible. I
which was
mean, we've got to make do with the best that we can, you know?
Yeah, that's it, 100%. So how are you? You must be pretty excited to return to Australia. I did interview Dan when you guys did Dark Mofo a couple of years back. Yeah,
Yeah, no. We as a band, yeah, we are stoked. Me personally, I kind of like it's a funny time because I'm in the middle of touring. I moved house 2 days ago. I have 2.5 tours before we get out to Australia. So for me, it's like it's um it's on the horizon, and then I'm looking at my calendar and I'm like, oh man, it is coming right up.
yeah.
So, and kind of so there's that it's a real hectic time, but also I was really ill last time we were over there for Dark Mofo. I spent like the first 4 days of our 5 day trip in bed, so I really feel like I missed out the last time we came over. So I'm really determined to get back out there and make the most of it. Luckily, I was all right for show day, but yeah, I think we're all quite excited. I mean, you only get to do a new territory for the first time once, and obviously, we did Dark Mofo, but it wasn't out in the mainland.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's always such a special thing that we're really privileged to have the opportunity to go and play in places across the world and Australia. Yeah, I've got some family out there. I've got some friends. It's been one of those. Oh, one day we'd love
Yeah.
to get out, and here we are. Here's that day.
Yeah, no, no. Yeah, I remember no, Dan said that you were ill and you also had bad jet lag as well. And so yeah, and I ironically even myself, I was there for Dark Mofo and I didn't make that show because I was crook myself. So I was really gutted because I was hanging to see a few bands on that, but I really wanted to check you guys out. So I didn't make it as well. So it was must have been, it's a but yeah, you'll be good this time.
Yeah, I hope so. I
Yeah.
have a pretty ruined immune system, so going on
Yeah.
tour for a length of time usually gets me eventually. So
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
I came back from my last tour sick, managed to get healthy in time for the next one. So I'm hoping it staggers appropriately that
Yeah, yeah.
Australia won a healthy one. So we'll see.
Um, yeah, I love your band since your very first release, your split and that. I love both albums. I think they're incredible. How, you know, Pathos, the critical acclaim, even, when my zine reviewed it, we definitely gave it album of the year and it just blew me away. How does that all sit for you guys? Because both albums were so well received, even more so the second album, I'd say.
Well, first of all, thank you. That's it. Still like fucking weird that people listen to our band. Like, like for us, it's just been this thing that kind of me and Dan have been doing for pushing on a decade now. And it is like so fucking cool that the repeat that it resonates with people to any kind of extent. I think that we for so long have been like really it's quite hard to talk about this kind of stuff without sounding like a total dick. So like I just feel like we've tried to be really humble for the longest time and have kind of felt like the underdogs. Like, I were just like four people from a tiny, nothing town in the middle of the UK that we just get together and we play our little songs and we have a nice time. And, our goals for starting this band were to record an album, to play a show at the Underworld in London, and to go on tour. And we did all of those things within, a couple of years. So everything post that has just been, like a really lovely bonus for us. And I think now we're starting to get to that point where we put or we have expectations of ourselves a little bit to be that band and to do something more exciting and to, to know that we are capable and worthy of being where we are and to do that in a healthy and um a healthy and humble way, but to give ourselves the credit that we I think deserve. And it's an interesting one trying to like balance that and not really, there's nothing ego related with our band at all. Like it's for us, it's all about the music. So I think it's a really interesting situation that we're in, especially coming into working on the next record, where we're confident that in the material we've already put out, and we're confident in what we're doing, and I feel like we owe all the people that have supported us thus far. It's I don't think we owe them anything other than to carry on what we've been doing, which is making music that we believe in and staying true to just focusing on the music. And that said, I think who we are as people has evolved quite a lot over the last decade, and I think there's going to be a lot more of that kind of moving forwards, expressing who we are now in 2024, 2025, as opposed to the kids that started this band a decade ago. Um, it's quite a long-winded answer
No,
to,
no, no, it's great, man. No, no, there's nothing. I mean, it jumps down to one of my other questions that I had down further was because I think both albums are kind of they drip in emotion, but I think it's also it touches on what you said. It doesn't feel forced. It seems very organic. There's a couple of things that it's very genuine and authentic, but it's also you're not reaching for a market or anything like that. Do you know what I mean? You're not. It's you're going for what you want to do. So that's it seems very real, like that's great. And I think that comes through, that shines through in the music. And the fact that you say, that you guys are so humble is also, yeah, it fits in with that perfect.
I think it's interesting. Like I have these conversations with a lot of people because full time now I tour with other bands and I drive and tour manage and so much and stuff. And it's really evident that you don't make extreme sounding music, maybe outside of, some of the metalcore and hardcore bands that make. You don't make that kind of music if you have any kind of commercial interest or any kind of um want for fame or acclaim or anything like that. Like the people that make heavy, fast, slow, shouting music are making it for the love of the art. And it's really inspiring, I think, to get to spend a lot of time with bands that are, have the exact same mentality as us. All they want to go and do is make cool music and be with good people and, express themselves in a genuine way. And I think that's a really nice place to be in as a band. Like 10 years down the line, we are in that exact same position at our core of let's just, do this thing that we love and do it with good people and but now we have that decade of experience and we have, kind of grander ambitions musically with what we want to achieve and we have, the platform now with everything we've done to really come and do things like, play headline shows in Australia, which is really insane. To tell any of this to 10, 15-year-old me when I was like first picking up a guitar, my mind would be absolutely blown. So yeah, it's a really nice position to be in, I think.
Yeah, and I mean you've played festivals, you've played really good lineups and stuff. It must be, like you touched on then, there's a lot of pinch you moments where you just go, what the hell, we just did this, like with like you said, ticking off a couple of goals, but yeah, there's a lot of probably, pinch you moments along the way. Um where now where do you think the next album's going to go? I mean, because is there, I mean, there's, obviously there's not a, we're going to do this, we're going to create this market or anything. But I mean, obviously, because it's the, the whole, seems the ethos of the band is definitely a mix between the dark and the light. You could say the melodic and the abrasive, which I think you do perfectly well, and also mixing a lot of genres in there, So is there yeah, is it going to be any great difference? How, and where is that kind of up to?
I think that realistically our goal with the next record is to do something different as it was with the last one. There are so many bands that will bang their head against the wall doing the same thing over and over again, and that's never been of any interest to us. And I think that the kind of the material we're working on at the minute is a lot more expansive and um there's a lot more focus on space. Like I think some of the stuff that Dan has been listening to and kind of more recently I've been listening to is stuff like Sumac and um bands that give their kind of music a bit more time to breathe. And I feel that Pathos, while I love it and I stand by that record, it's really claustrophobic. And I think a lot of, especially playing it live, like there are a lot of notes. And it's kind of all go all the time. Even the kind of slower sections have a lot going on. I think for us, now there's something really exciting in like stripping that back and going, okay, let's get to the essence of what we're about and what music is exciting us now as opposed to what was exciting us 5 years ago when we were working on those Pathos songs originally, and this is the first time we're like demoing all of our tracks. So we used to write on Guitar Pro exclusively, so everything would be tabbed and meticulously assembled on a computer, whereas now we're recording on computers, obviously, because who's got a fucking tape set up?
Yeah,
But it's like it's real instruments, and there's a lot of the riffs that are don't really translate in tabs. It's a lot of feel and vibe and messing with different sounds and techniques. And yeah, I think really our goal is just to do something that like the ideal record for me is something that people either aren't expecting or feel like they can't really compare it to the last one because it's doing something else. Um, and I'd like to try and keep that up as kind of throughout our career, really. As long as we're lucky enough to keep making music, I don't ever want to become predictable or stale or anything negative like that,
yeah, yeah. No, no, no. I mean, I think there's, I mean, you could even see that on the, the difference between the first album and the second, the market difference, not just in styles, but yeah, I mean, you could see that, the room for kind of space, even with the closer on the last album, like that really, you got songs like, Rot and other songs that are real bangers and really, but yeah, that really, I mean, I think that blew most people away, really. Like, that's just, I'm not, like that just, yeah, where, the unexpected and, that main riff and then where it goes at the end, like, so it's, so that's, yeah, you could see, yeah, that could be not a logical progression, but like, yeah, that space is good. So that's, yeah, all those things you mentioned, you're not under pressure to do, it's kind of just evolving, which is good, and all the great bands are kind of like that, aren't they? Really, than the cookie cutter. This sounds like album number 2 albums ago. Like that's not really. It's not interesting, is it? Really, that way.
Yeah, it's yeah, I don't know. I think people get so um like bogged down in trying to do this or trying to do that and like not just following sounds so corny, but I think it's so true. Not just like following where the music takes you, and that's something that we'll have conversations and someone will say, oh, maybe the record needs this kind of track, or we get some input from a producer, and it's like, well, the second you start going, oh, we need to write a banger now, or we need to write an
Yeah,
epic 10-minute closer, or we need to write this, like I feel like it takes away from the I say this as someone that doesn't write a lot, but I'm quite involved in the process. It takes the authenticity away from it, and I think that I would much rather sit down with Dan and go, okay, what ideas have you got? And they'll come out with a bunch of riffs or tracks or ideas or whatever, and go, okay, what does this say to us? What does the music tell us? Or how does that inform what this song could be? And kind of let it flow from that direction as opposed to the trying to brute force an idea in. And that's something that I think has been really integral to the sound of the records and the way our songs come together is that there's never been a point that we're like, oh, we're gonna try and write this kind of thing. It's that kind of thing that has naturally come together. But it just takes longer. Like this is why we've not been the bands that can put out a record every other year, it blows my mind because the amount of time that we spend going over and over and over an idea and coming back to something 6 months later and going, actually, this like there's a video of us playing Hollow from Maya at a festival in like 2015, and it is like wildly different to the version that is on the record because we
yeah.
gigged like years and kept changing things, and I really love that song now because of the way it came together and the fact that we knew it had legs, but it really it wasn't quite there, and it kind of evolved and came through it, and there's the kind of process we try and go through with all the songs, and I don't think you can do that in there's no like cheat code for that. There's no way of rushing
Yeah.
through that. So we are trying to get a little faster with the writing process because it is depressing not having, more stuff to play and to come out with. But I think if we can get it down to 3 or 4 years between records, that's the goal.
I think the thing is that just if you look in that duration of, like you said, the decade,
Mm.
um, you, two what I would say stunning albums, as opposed to bands that, like you said, bands that release an album every 2 years, but it's just like, yeah, like, stuff that I listen to, stuff that I listen to and stuff like that. I just go, oh man, that sounds like an album
Mm.
from 6 years ago. And there's a little bit of differences, but it's that effort, like you said. I think that's the whole difference. The albums that you're going to come back to. I think
Yeah,
personally.
I think for me, with any band that I follow, I would much rather wait for something that I think is brilliant than have another album that may listen to a couple of times and then just gets put on the shelf, you know?
Yeah,
And I know that for me as a fan of any artist, I'll wait, you know, if it's 10 years, it's not like I'm gonna forget about a band that I love or about a band that interests me, or you know, if an album comes out and it's good and it's worth my time, I'm gonna give it a go and I'm gonna, you know, reignite my love for that band. And I feel like you've just gotta have faith that that's the same for other people as well.
100%. Now, and obviously, thematically there was, a lot of emotion and some loss and grief in that last album. Is there any kind of themes coming through so far for the next album? Like you said, there's obviously a lot of things have been going on in between, and obviously personally, like you said, we grow and changes and stuff. Is there any kind of themes that are coming through so far?
Yes, I don't think we're ever gonna write a record that is focused on one particular theme. I know that there has been almost exclusively introspection on the last couple records. Either that or like a really specific theme to a song. Um, and for me personally, the stuff that I'm writing and thinking about lyrically, and I know it's similar for Dan, I was just fucking like pissed off with the state of the world and the way that people are treated, and be that, you know, marginalized people, be that homeless people, be that the just the lack of basic fucking humanity towards other people, and the idea that someone's circumstances or the way their life is, the way they live their life is anyone else's fucking business, is just absolutely fucking abhorrent. And there is, yeah, we're still sad. We still have sad feelings about ourselves, and there will be plenty of that. But there is this like absolute raw fucking fury that is not really something that I have experienced a whole lot in my life, and is something that is definitely going to make it onto this next record. And a lot of the same ideas and thoughts that have been bouncing around my head, and me and Dan have discussed kind of at length. Um, so I know there's a lot of crossover there, and it's not really an approach that we have had before. So I think it'll be interesting, whatever
Yeah, yeah,
comes of
no.
it.
No, that's good. Yeah, no, I don't see you writing a concept album or anything like that. As you said, it's all
Yeah,
about that. It's all about the creative process you're talking about before, which, as I said, really shines through on all your releases, which is great. You're also you're playing in, well, my hometown. You're playing with Botch as well. So that's
yeah.
that's I think that's phenomenal, because I mean, not only people are wetting their pants to see Botch because they never expected it to happen, but that combination, I know you're doing, yeah, other shows with other bands and stuff, but that's, I think that's phenomenal. Like, I think that's it's great. Like the mix is just going to be,
We were really we had this tour booked, and Greg, who sorted it for us, was like, "Oh, I just found out, unfortunately, some of the shows clash with botch dates. Would you be open to supporting them?" I was like, "Yeah, I think we could make that fucking work." It's absolutely obscene. And again, that's another thing that like botch were a little bit before my time in terms of getting into that kind of music, but the influence they've had, and
oh,
all of the bands that I love name check botch, and so to kind of be a small, tiny little part of those shows is such a real privilege for us. And but by all accounts, I've heard they're even better now than they were back in the day. So
Yeah.
if I get, the chance to see them twice, I'm glad that it will be heavily jet lagged at the end of the show. So I think I can't think of a better way to experience that.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great because yeah, the promoter that's doing Botch is really good. He does a lot of post rock, post metal stuff as well. They do, really kind of quite eclectic, really curated kind of gigs. And then Greg, who is bringing you out, who's a wonderful guy, a lovely promoter who's doing some great shows. And yeah, for that to be combined, I think is really good too. Like that cross pollination will be, I think it'll be one of the shows of the year. So which
Oh
is
yeah.
which is great. And so aside from you've got those tours, what else is coming up for the rest of the year besides obviously the new album and those things? Is there any other big tours that you've got in your homeland or in Europe or that, or what else is?
So we've got a bunch of little things. We're doing a bunch of one-off festivals in the UK and Europe. Um, we are working on a new Kirsty Small Hands track with our friends in Pine, which is difficult to get all of us in a room together, but we're hopefully going to record that this year and get that out. That would be great. It's like a campfire song about friendship, and it's got banjo in it. It's really good fun.
Excellent. Great.
And we are working on another collaboration record, which has been kind of in talks for the last year and a half, and the people we're doing it with are super busy. So trying to get our schedules aligned has been tough, but that's kind of somewhere on the horizon. But really, yeah, our focus is just on the new record. We're trying to get a few different writing retreats together where we'll just lock ourselves in the studio for a week, and it's an approach we've never had before. Kind of getting in a room writing together. So we wanted to really push ourselves out of our comfort zone and get together and just force ourselves to do something. So okay, between some festivals, doing a European tour with June, which is going to be quite exciting. That's straight into Australia. I'm sure we've got some other stuff. But yeah, so between that, working on the new record, my touring with other bands, Connor plays in Solosis, so he's really busy. Noah just went out with Polaris playing drums for them for a few days. So we're all
Pretty damn
pretty
busy.
hectic at the minute.
Yeah.
So I'd like to say that we'll have the new album out next year and can really focus on touring and hopefully come back out to Australia and play some bigger shows.
Awesome. Um, I think this is going to cut out pretty soon, and I know your schedule's behind because of my technology problems. Lovely
All
chatting to
good.
you. Um, and yeah, hopefully get to chat to you guys face to face when you make it to
Yeah.
Melbourne. That'd be great. Thank you so much for all your records and that. I really, like I appreciate it. Like I think it's just, yeah, it's not. I know there's, you'll get interviewed by people, but yeah, I really appreciate it. The music means a lot to me, and the effort you put in.
Well, I really appreciate that and look forward to meeting you at the show.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, you take care, and
Oh yeah.
we'll see you pretty soon.
Cheers, Mark. See you in a
All
few
right,
months.
take care. Chat soon. Take care.